All right, my friends, welcome back. And now we're moving on to dissociative identity disorders. And these are formally known as multiple personality disorder. And when we learn about this, this is all on the nurture side. So this is environmentally driven. So let's look at it. And we also call this D.I.D. So dissociative disorders, D.I.D. Dissociation means it's like daydreaming or getting lost in the moment while working on a project. So when we dissociate, it could be daydreaming, it could be, thinking off into space, right? So it's dissociating from the reality that is set before you. And it's characterized by separation of critical parts of personality, like memory, consciousness, or identity, that are normally integrated and work together. Temporarily, dissociative states are common for most of us. When driving in a common route, we tend to space out, and you don't recall actually going through the intersection that you just went to. But this is two extremes, okay? So again, separation for critical parts of personality, and again, it used to be called multiple personality disorder. So let's take a look at what conditions we look for. So under the D.I.D. Diagnoses for previously known as multiple personality disorder, this is a condition in which a person appears to have two or more distinct personalities, each of which can speak, act, and write in different ways. There has been many studies on people who display dissociative identity disorder. And when they split into so essentially imagine it's like having our different caps on for perspectives. People take on different personalities, or they call them, I'm blanking. It's their personality. It'll come back to me. So essentially, it's where there's multiple personas that live within the same brain. And I want you guys to write down in your notes, this is an extreme type of defense mechanism that our brain does when there has been severe trauma. Okay? So different identities also seem to have their own memories, wishes, impulses, some different states, so different identities within a person have different accents. Some identities within, we'll watch a video later on about a woman who believes that she is a gay man. They have different, they have done lots of studies when people are in altered states where there's a different identity that comes forward, and they have different handwriting. Also, something that's interesting is the woman who believes, when her altered state is the gay man, and they also have different names. Usually they have different names that come, and they're like, I am this person, I am this person. When they tested her blood when he was the gay man, they found trace amounts of testosterone in her blood. Something to think about. So usually problems occur because there's only one body available for these different personalities, forcing the personalities to take turns. Because there can be strong variations in personality, a person's behavior can appear very inconsistent, because just like the movie Split, if you guys have watched it, some of the personalities that Kevin had, which was the main person, one of them was a person who had OCD, right? Another one was a diabetic, right? This disorder is fascinating to study, my friends. Our brain, when it cannot face reality, two extremes, D.I.D. can form, where the brain splits from reality and creates figures that are there to protect. So usually an altar. That's the word I was looking for, is alter. So when they have an alter take over, right, an altered self, there tends to be a persona that takes on as the caregiver and the person that protects the main person, right? Um, okay, so when we look at DID through a developmental lens, um, sorry, something popped up on my screen. So when we look at development of DID through a lens, let's look at the psychoanalytical lens. Massive repression of unwanted impulses and memories can create and alter a new person who acts but otherwise on the unacceptable impulses and recalls the unbearable moments. There actually is a connection that your altered state, the protector, this tends to be a really high correlation. They are the ones that are driven by the id of your personality. Patients who have DID, usually there is a high correlation due to a trauma that involves sexual abuse. When our brain cannot handle a reality, instead of repression, it can vault to DID and a split of personality. So behaviorists look at this as everyone's capable of acting in different ways in different situations. This disorder is the extreme variation of acting so different that you feel like a different person. So these altered states have different ways of saying things. They have different mannerisms. They have different handwriting. Some have accents. Oh, it's so interesting, my friends. And then our last slide with DID is, actually evaluating the true cases of DID has been difficult due to the rarity of the disorder. It is very uncommon, but it does still happen. However, most clinicians believe that at the root cause of the disorder is some sort of abuse or trauma during childhood. Okay? The child separates themselves from the abuse and trauma as a way to deal with the situation and can continue to do it through the rest of their lives. DID cannot be treated with medication. We'll go over why later on. Okay? Yes. Okay. That's the last slide for this one. We'll come back for personality.